Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Breiler.
I tried to play Coach Harbaugh's soundbite there. Maybe I'll do it again when the music's off.
I can tell you that the cockles of my heart are on fire after that.
Michigan is 2-0.
Yeah.
Cockles are warm.
Hot cockles.
And we're excited, man. We've got it's official. Blake Corum is officially a regular on our live streaming podcast now. He keeps winning Player of the Week awards, and now he's the Big Ten Player of the Week. He's on some watch lists. He comes off the big game. He's paying rent in the end zone. He's going there so often. I know Blake's a humble guy, but Blake, you gotta feel pretty good about what you're doing through 2 weeks of this season.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. It's been good. It's been fun, and I wanted to keep going.
Well, Chris is about to make you feel awkward here by running down all these stats and achievements and everything you've been doing. I know before we went live, you showed the posters back there, the Player of the Week, 2 in a row for Michigan. Yeah. And like I said, Big Ten Player of the Week. So, Chris, lay him on him, man. I'm sure he's heard some, but maybe there's some in there he hasn't heard yet.
Yeah, maybe there's something in here you haven't heard, but obviously it's been a solid 2 weeks for you. And I'm just going to kind of run through, the list of some of the things that I saw that really stood out to me. So, obviously the 171 yards on Saturday was a career high for you. You added 3 touchdowns, averaged 8.1 yards a carry on 21 carries, had 11 yards receiving. What's interesting is that in 2 games, the 282 yards on 35 carries is the most yards in a 2-game span that anybody's put together since Denard Robinson in 2010. So I don't know if you were aware of that, but that was a pretty cool stat. All in total, you've got 443 all-purpose yards for 5 touchdowns through 2 games. And the really cool thing was, you and Hassan were tearing it up all evening, and you guys became just the you guys both had 150 yards rushing, 2 running backs with 150 yards rushing in the same game. It's only the 3rd time that's happened in Michigan football history. So, man, it was an impressive evening for you guys. And before we get into the actual game itself, I got to ask you, the environment. It looked good from where we were at up in the press box. I saw when you came out of the tunnel before the game, you ran straight over to the student section. You were getting everybody hype. Just tell us a little bit about what that environment was like Saturday night.
It was electric. It was loudest stadium I've ever been in. It was amazing. I was just like, I want that to happen every Saturday.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, I was assuming it would take the top spot, but is it safe to say that that is far and away the most electric environment you've ever played football in?
Yeah, definitely the most electric environment I've ever played football in. On my visits when I was in high school, I've been to some pretty loud stadiums, and I'll tell you what, after that first play, that delayed game, that did beat all the stadiums I've ever been in. It was loud.
It's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It looked awesome. Everybody showed up. They've done the maze out before, but this one was by far the most successful.
This one was different. Yeah.
You couple that with the night game, you couple that with the September 11th stuff, the halftime, the pregame. It just had a vibe. It had a buzz all night long. And I'm wondering, you mentioned it. The first play of the game, Washington gets a penalty. Coach Harbaugh mentioned today, kicking down towards the student section is now like a no-brainer. I don't know if wind will ever be a factor again when the student section sounds like that. And then you guys come out and do whatever you want. I just have to imagine, you mentioned the atmosphere, the electricity, but then your own success and what you were able to do. You almost had to feel like a superhero out there at that point, the way you guys were getting what you were getting and the way it felt in there.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, it was a crazy experience. And I don't know if you heard any of the other interviews I did after the game or not, but there was a linebacker on the other team previously that week that said we weren't going to run on them. So,
that young man's name was Jackson Sermon. I have it written down right here. But yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't know his name. I don't know his name. Now that you told me, I know his name. But we ran that thing on him, and it was a good day. It was electric. The student section, man, shout out to them.
Yeah.
They really brought it. All the fans brought it. It was a great night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, so I feel like you talk about the type of game that you had, and I'm just curious, you mentioned it that there was some talk leading up to the game about what they were going to do against, your rushing attack. And I'm curious, we're sitting up in the press box and you could kind of see it on social media, and fans were saying, why aren't they passing the ball? Like, we know we can run it, but why isn't there more of a passing attack? How much of the game plan to just sort of pound it down their throat had to do with some of that chatter that you guys were hearing before the game? Was it a statement? Was there a point you guys were trying to make there?
Nah, I wouldn't say there was a statement we were trying to make before the game. We had a game plan. The game plan wasn't to run the ball, it was to do both. But I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. They couldn't stop the run. And so, I mean, we just kept pounding and pounding. We could tell they were getting tired at the second quarter. Offensive line was coming off the ball, firing. They were real physical. The tight ends were blocking, the receivers were blocking, and that allowed me and H2 to do our thing. And so, I mean, if you can't stop it, why go away from it? I saw a couple posts on Twitter and whatnot, and I just kind of pushed that stuff to the side, like, y'all can't pass the ball. I mean, yes, we can pass the ball. Like, if we don't have to pass the ball, if the run's working, why not just keep running the ball,
Yeah, and it's hard to argue against that with the numbers that were being put up. I mean, you looked at it, it was just, I think I put it out in an article. It was just like a beating all evening. You kind of wondered when it was going to stop or when they were going to make, adjustments to kind of slow you guys down. And none of the adjustments came. I know that you on social media, you gave a lot of credit to the wide receivers and the offensive line. Can you talk a little bit about, how important their play was on Saturday to your production?
I mean, their play was more important than mine. If it wasn't for them, it wouldn't allowed me to run for 171 yards, and it wouldn't allowed H2 to run for 150, whatever he ran for. They were from the jump. They were physical. They were knocking the guys off the ball, allowing me and H2 to see our holes correctly, us to read on the perimeter. Our tight ends, our receivers, they were doing their job. And so, I mean, we got to give all the credit to them. They made our job easier. Like I said, I mean, it was great.
I don't think at this point you're going to be giving any secrets away because it already played out, and you just kind of mentioned, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's working. We're just going to keep doing it. But you said the plan going into the game wasn't just to run, but that's how it played out. And it didn't play out any better than that. Then after halftime, you come out in that third quarter, 8 runs in a row, and you get a touchdown. I mean, that absolutely kills the defense. I wonder, you mentioned it, in the second quarter you started noticing we're getting what we want. The linemen are blowing people up. We're getting big chunk plays on the ground. Did you know at that point, coming out in the third quarter, that, like, I don't know if you knew it was going to be 8 in a row, but did you know it was going to be a lot of runs to come right out of halftime and try to send a message and kind of put them away? Because that's what it felt like.
Right. So, going into halftime, every team makes corrections. So we corrected the runs that we messed up on in the first half. And I mean, yeah, it was kind of just, we're going to keep being physical with those guys. We're going to keep running the ball. They can't stop us. And let's see. They stacked the box, still couldn't stop us. I mean, we just kept running that thing on them, and I mean, that's what they deserve for talking, crazy.
Yeah, I hear you. I find it interesting too. I wonder, Blake, as the running back, how much you notice. We talked to Trevor Keegan and Andrew Stuber earlier today at the media, and so they're obviously very aware of the different things the defensive line is trying to do, and probably the linebackers as well. How much do you know as the running back, like how much they're switching up their fronts to try to stop the run, and it's just not working play after play? How much do you notice how different things look from that defense?
From our defense or Washington's defense?
From Washington's defense. Like how much can you tell how much they're switching up, trying to find something that's going to work?
Coming out, and the first half, they kind of stuck to what we thought they would stick to. But then, after halftime, they didn't know what to do. So they were bringing blitzes from everywhere. They were trying to stop it. Like I said, they stacked the box. Um, they would try to rotate the D lineman, switch at the last minute, move them, and like I said, the O line wasn't playing no games with them boys. They was fine with the ball. They wasn't. It didn't matter. At the end of the day, our it still remained the same for what we wanted to get done. And so them bringing all those different types of things after halftime, we stuck to the game plan and just accomplished, the goal, which was the win.
Yeah, Coach Harbaugh. Chris, did you hear Coach Harbaugh's comment today? He said some go by land, some go by air.
Some go by air.
We decided to go by land. Mission accomplished. I mean, yeah, you can't put it any simpler than that. Mission accomplished. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So Blake, you bounce. I don't know what quarter it was in, but you bounced to the outside. I think you go to the right side of the field, and you attempt to jump over a player. And I see this thing coming. I see it on the replay. I mean, what's going through your mind in that split second where you think that defender is going to go low and they meet you up top? Like, what happens in your head at that point?
So I mean, all game I was getting them something. So whether some parts of the game I ran through a couple guys, other parts of the game I hit them with a couple juke moves. I caught the ball. I'm like, they were going low too, like the safeties and whatnot. And I think he was a linebacker. He's kind of tall. And I'm like, this guy's going to go low at the last minute. I know he is, right? It didn't end up happening like that. But I thought in my mind, like, I'm about to jump this dude. So I leap. And I know when I'm in game, I jump higher than I do out of game. So I knew I was going to jump him. I ended up jumping 43, which was that dude we was talking about. I didn't even see him until I looked back at the picture someone took. I ended up jumping over him, but I didn't see him. But I didn't clear 21. But we got the first down because he wanted to talk after that. But
that's right. I forget about
Okay, Blake, I'm glad you brought that up because somebody in the comments right here. What did the Washington safety say when you were getting up that got him that unsportsmanlike? Like, if you have to censor it, that's okay. But I'm sure he was jawing a little bit for whatever reason.
Yeah, he asked me if I was effing crazy.
There you go.
I said, yeah, I am.
It got a quick 15. That's so funny. I wonder too, while we're on this topic, obviously it's kind of funny to talk about now because you had a huge game, got the win. Does Coach Hart, does he give you anything like, Blake, what are you doing on the jump, man? Because look, Mike Hart was a lot of things. A jumper, I don't think he was, and I just wonder if he had a discussion with you about that.
So Coach Hart doesn't really understand the purpose of jumping. Most of the time when someone jumps someone, they're not going to go far after they jump someone unless it's wide open.
Yeah.
But
it's all about the poster, right? You're just trying to posterize somebody. You're going for that photo, right? That shot.
Yeah, sure. But I came to the sideline. He said, "What were you thinking trying to jump over two people?" I said, "Coach, I thought it was only one. I didn't realize there was two people I was trying to jump over."
That is so funny, man.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, as fans, Michigan fans are trying to like temper their expectations because they've sort of seen this movie before, right? Michigan starts out hot and then you get into the meat of the schedule and sometimes the wheels kind of come off. But, after this last weekend in particular, looking around at the Big Ten, it seems like there is the door hasn't been open very often, but it seems like the door might be cracked for somebody to sort of step in and take over in the Big Ten East. And I'm just wondering, do you guys what is the sense inside the locker room of just how far this team can go in 2021?
I mean, the sky's the limit. I feel like we can go as far as we want to, but at the same time, we just got to take it game by game, day by day, week by week. We can't get too far ahead of ourselves, and we just got to keep grinding like we have all off season, these last two games and each week. I feel like if we stick to the script, we'll be all right.
Yeah, and there was a juicy tidbit that came out of the press conference today where I think was it Trevor Keegan? He had said something about it's a 9-on-7 drill, but the name has been changed to the Beat Ohio drill. Can you shed any sort of light on that? We don't know anything about that, but it sounds interesting. What can you tell us about that?
I'm gonna keep that one to myself, but it's a good drill. I'm gonna keep that one in though.
Coach Harbaugh, he explained a little bit. I mean, he didn't get into the details of who's doing what on the drill or the actual like setup. But he said it's an interior running drill. It's 9-on-7. There's music going. It's very competitive, and
Smelling
people
salts.
smelling salts, and people have really embraced it. I guess if you want to keep some of it to yourself, how competitive does that section of practice get?
It gets competitive. It's lit. It's loud, and it's a good drill. It's a good drill.
I was going to say, as a running back, I'm guessing you guys are taking a lot of hits on that drill.
Yeah, but we're smart about it.
Okay,
we're smart
there you
about
go.
it, but we take a couple licks, but we're smart. We're smart about how we practice and the way we approach the game.
I wanted to throw this comment up real too. We had Blake throw up the cheetah, throw up the deuce on the way in. When you do that, is that premeditated? I mean, are you thinking like, all right, if I bust a long one, I'm gonna do it, or do you think of it in like the last 20 yards on your way into the end zone?
That's part of my logo. So
that's true. The deuce is loose. Okay.
That's part of my logo. Let me see if I got it. I think I had it. Sure. Let me see. But I looked at the right there. But
Okay.
But I was open, and I knew the safety wasn't going to catch me. Once I turned the corner, I looked up at the jumbotron, and I saw no one was behind me. I was like, why not? I threw it up. I'm not going to do it again.
I was gonna. Yeah, was there a chat about that maybe too, or is that?
Yeah, there was a chat about it, because it could have been bad. It could have been bad. It could have got called back, but you learn from your mistakes. But I'm not gonna do it again. But it was cool for the moment.
Hey, that is, you just said it. It's your number. It's part of your logo. It's a huge moment. That environment, that game. You can't be held accountable for that. I mean, I would hope whichever coach chatted with you about it understood, because I'm sure it was like you said, you didn't like plan it. You were just there, happened, whatever. It's done and over. But
no, for sure.
You've now like I said, you've reeled in a couple of these players of the week, now being recognized by the Big Ten. I mentioned it at the beginning. I know you're a humble guy, but you're having a lot of success. I think your name's starting to become kind of a national name a little bit. I mean, we joked last week about how Hunter Dickinson saying you're college Reggie Bush and stuff like that. I just wonder, you've talked about your work ethic and how important all of that is to you. Like, how are you finding this balance? And I mean, at the end of the day, man, you are a kid playing football in college. It's got to be one of the coolest things ever to get some notoriety and be having the success that you're having.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely cool seeing what hard work pay off. But I got a long way to go. So I'm gonna stick to the script. I'm gonna stick to everything that I've done to get me here and put me in this type of situation. And I'm just gonna keep my head down and keep pushing. Keep being the leader that I am. Keep pushing my teammates, and just keep balling. That's all I really can do. And I'm not gonna get big headed. I'm gonna remain humble. And just
is it hard? Is it hard though? A little bit.
It's hard to remain. Nah, just because I feel like the way I was raised, the way my parents raised me. I'm just a humble guy. Like not that I don't let that stuff get to me, because God gifted me with this gift, and I'm just using it. So I'm gonna remain humble. And just everything's gonna fall into place. So I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna do what I did to get here, and just keep working, man.
Blake's winning some. He already has won a lot of people over in the Michigan fan base, but this comment's real funny right here. We got Blake Corum for president. Maybe someday. Everybody talking about how humble he is and the hard work and everything. That's pretty funny.
I am curious a little bit, because you come off of such a electric game like Washington, and the environment is so electric. How do you guys avoid a letdown performance the following week? I think it's an afternoon kickoff. You've got NIU coming in. Obviously, there's not a lot of hype surrounding this game, but you got to still take care of business if you want to reach your goals. How do you guys keep each other up for a game like what you have coming up this weekend?
Mindset. Yeah, you just gotta check your mindset. If you're the dog you say you are, then you're gonna want to kill everything in front of you, no matter how big, little. It doesn't matter. We're going to go in the game with the same mindset. We want to win, and not win by a little, but win by a lot, and just take it to them boys, and just do our thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's football. You know, we just gotta play who's in front of us. We didn't pick the schedule. We didn't pick who's on the team. We're just gonna ball out and do us.
Blake, as I mentioned, we talked to Trevor Keegan, Andrew Stuber today at media availability, and they obviously love the game plan on Saturday. Linemen love to run block and just put their face on somebody and go forward. And you've given a lot of praise to them, the tight ends, the wide receivers, everybody blocking for you and kind of paving the way. Do you get a chance to do that at all during the game, or is that just not even on the radar? I mean, how often are you mixing in with the other position groups when you guys are on the sidelines and just saying, hey, I saw this, or hey, do this a little different, or what's that communication like on the sideline?
Yeah, I mean, every time we come off the field, whether we score, whether we at the punt, field goal, we always come to the sideline. And, you know, there's always stuff to fix. Hey, what are you seeing out there? What are you seeing? And then, you know, I always talk to my O-line, hey, keep it up. Y'all doing a hell of a job. Just keep going. I'm following y'all. You know, I got y'all's back. Do y'all got mine? Stuff like that. Like, you know, just making sure we got each other. Make sure we seeing the same thing. Make sure we're on the same page. And then, you know, sometimes you gotta talk to your defense too. Hey, y'all keep it up. Y'all doing your thing. Just like small stuff. And but yeah, we talk to each other on and off the field for sure.
There's another family member in here. We're gonna show some love for the Corum family when they pop in here.
What's up, Mama?
Lots of support for Blake after 2 big weeks. Yeah, you gotta love to see it, man. You like to see that over there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Were there any other fan questions out there?
Yeah, there's a few. There's a lot of comments. So if you got one more, Chris, ask something while I'm kind of searching through all these because there's a bunch.
I got a question for you. So we heard a lot about, we spent all off season hearing about culture and energy and how something just felt different within Schembechler Hall. And from the outside looking in, when we see you guys down on the field, like we can see that something feels different or something looks different with the way you guys interact with each other on the sideline, with how things look on the field. How much of that energy, that chemistry, that brotherhood is playing a part in the success that we've seen so far early in this year? How much of that carries over into the field?
I think all of it carries over onto the field. As last year you could see like it was like an energy vampire was sucking the blood out of the energy out of all of us, But now that you can see, we changed our mindset, we changed our approach, and we changed the way we approach everything that we do. And now y'all can see it on the field. We're celebrating, we're lifting each other up. We want everyone to win. No one's being selfish. We're dancing on the sideline. We're getting involved. The fans are back. That's a big part. We're getting involved with them, telling them to get up, let's go. So all of that plays a role, but the character. That's a big part in building the team. That's a building block that you need to have a successful team. And I feel like our character right now and the way we approach everything is good.
I found a good one here. Actually, this is as someone who used to spend all my time covering recruiting when I was with Rivals and the Wolverine.com, and Blake just can't mention any names here, obviously, when you're talking about recruiting. Don't want you to get in trouble for anything like that. But it was a huge recruiting weekend. There were tons of guys there. Do you have obligations, you specifically, like with the recruits after the game? I mean, you come off a big win. I know it's late. It's a late night with an 8:00 kickoff. But are you spending time with the recruits? Did you host anybody? Did the coaches say, hey, we want you to talk to this guy or spend time with this guy? Again, don't say anybody's names, but just kind of give a general overview of what you do on a big visit weekend like that.
A big visit weekend, I got to remain focused, first of all. We got to make sure we get that W. But in the meantime of all that, I talk to the guys, hey, this is the place you want to be. But no coach, no one. I didn't host anyone this weekend. I've hosted some in the summer. But they didn't ask me to host anyone. But I definitely talk to the guys, tell them, hey, things are changing here, I think this is the only place you want to be. Just recruiting them, telling them the pros about being a Wolverine, being a Michigan man, and but yeah, hope that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, it's one of those things where, there's they host you, they pair you up with guys, right, based on sometimes if you're from the same area, or if Michigan had a big running back in, they might put you with him. Yeah. So that just kind of depends on the list and who's there and who spent it, who the coaches think's going to get along with who. We kind of addressed this a little bit, and Blake, I know none of the players on the team are ever going to throw anybody else under the bus or say that there's a general concern, but I think this is something a lot of people are wondering about. The running game was so good against Washington that there was no need to air it out and try to do those things. But how confident are you guys in Cade as a thrower, in the receivers, getting open without Ronnie, especially? Like what, maybe in practice, like what's the balance between focusing on the run and the pass? Like how does all that feel inside when you think about, all right, man, maybe sometime we're down by 10 and we need to air this thing out. Like how do you feel about that part of the game?
I mean, my man Jake, I feel comfortable. We can throw that thing, I promise. Like I said earlier in the interview, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And Washington couldn't stop the run, so we continue to run. I don't have no worries. I believe in all my receivers. They get open. I believe in Cade. He can sling that thing. And, we're a versatile team. We practice running the ball. We practice throwing the ball. So I don't have any worries. I feel like a lot of people are worrying about y'all don't got a pass game. We do, I promise. We do. Like, don't worry, we're good.
Well, speaking of the passing game, we saw Ronnie Bell, out on the field, getting cheers from the crowd. We saw him down on the sideline, kind of talking to the wide receiver group. Can you give us a little bit of insight as to, how his role has changed now that he's injured? What is he doing within Schembechler Hall? What type of impact, or how is he having an impact on you guys now?
Yeah, Ronnie's still taking the same approach. He's just not on the playing physically on the field, but he's there. He's still studying the game. He's still helping us game plan. He's still there every day. He's still a captain. He's still a leader. Like I said before, I think last week I said, like, Ronnie, he's a competitor. And so he's still doing this thing and helping the team.
Speaking of Ronnie, saw him walking way down State Street today. I'm thinking, can anybody give the man a ride? He's walking out here on crutches, all like way down the road from Schembechler. I'm sure he probably had class. He was going to get some food or something. But
he was probably going to class or something.
He was all by himself, hustling across the street with them crutches. I'm thinking, man, poor Ronnie. Somebody left him hanging out here. I think this is an interesting question too. Not a deep dive question, but how are you feeling the all blues? How are you feeling the all blue uniforms on Saturday night?
Y'all tell me.
Yeah,
they look sharp from where
y'all tell me. Sure. Y'all tell me what y'all thought. But I think they look good to me.
Yeah,
I like clean.
I like the all blue, like you said. It looked clean. Looked like we was ready to go to war. I don't know. I like the all blue.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I know Adidas did a version of the all blues a handful of years back, but they had some weird number stripes going on. This was just simple, clean.
It went good with the maize out,
It did.
Yeah.
100%. I had several people. I don't know how this works. Chris, you and I are both artistic guys. Maybe there's something to this, but I had a lot of people say they looked faster in all blue. Like how is it possible that you could look faster in a different color? But Blake certainly has a little. He's got some wheels. I think Blake, picks them up and puts them down pretty good. Did you feel faster in all blue, or what? Or was it just a product of the running game?
I always feel fast, but nah, I didn't feel fast or anything. I felt like I think we looked sharp. And we played pretty sharp. There's always stuff to fix at the end of the day, but as a team, we look sharp. We play sharp.
Well, Chris touched on this a little bit. Blake, we'll get you out of here in the next minute or two. The game coming up against NIU, and I know you guys don't try to look too far on down the road, but there's a really good chance that this team starts off a pretty smooth 4-0. When you look at the schedule, 4 home games in a row, beatable opponents. What that means for a ranking and how much any of that really matters, though. But again, coming back to the culture and coming back to the mindset coming into this game, I just wonder how much more confidence these wins like this are giving you, especially you, the fellow running backs, the offensive line, when you're able to kind of do whatever you want for the first 2 games. And again, not disrespecting NIU, but you guys are you're gonna be a big favorite in that one. I expect to have another pretty successful day for you running backs, especially. Just how are you guys feeling, kind of looking at this first 4 home games to start 2021?
We're feeling good. We're confident. We're motivated. We're remaining humble, like I said, and because we really haven't done anything yet. The season just started, but going into this game, we're going, like I said, we're going to approach it like we did Washington, approach it like we did Western Michigan, and just stick to the script and not get too far ahead of ourselves, and just ball out, keep putting on for the alumni that went here and the state of Michigan, all the Michigan fans, and yeah, that's it.
There you have it, Blake Corum. He's a regular. I don't know. We should probably just pencil him into the schedule for next week too, because I don't know. Maybe 200 rushing yards is in the cards for Blake this week. I'm sure he's going to go out and try to get that.
Hell of a start.
Absolutely. Blake, thanks so much for the time again, man. Best of luck. Continue to stay healthy. Continue to get after it. And shout out to the whole Corum family.
All the Corums.
Yeah, shout out
the whole gang in here giving their guys some support. Blake, thanks again so much, man. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, I appreciate you. All
right, take care. There you go, Blake Corum. Like I said, becoming a regular for a good reason. Well, it's gonna come up in our little question section, so I think we can start to kind of move into that a little bit. Okay. We'll talk a little bit more about Blake and some of the running backs and just the whole big picture. Some of the stuff we would have talked about on Saturday. We had a little technical difficulties. We're back at it today. Feel good about that. But let's talk about some of the things we thought we would see in the game that we didn't. Why we didn't. Actually, these are my specific predictions. I went a slim 1 for 5 on my predictions.
Chilly.
Yeah, a little chilly. And the score predictions, though, we were actually both pretty close. I predicted 31-21, so Michigan was in that wheelhouse, and Washington was a little worse than that. And you said 34-17, so both of us were kind of in that same wheelhouse. I guess looking back on it now, Michigan wins 31-10, gets a 3-touchdown win, and barely had to throw the ball. I guess not first thoughts because it's a couple days later now at this point. But thoughts on that, since we didn't really get to break it down on Saturday.
I'm not throwing the ball.
Just in general, 31-20 or 31-10, winning by 21 points. The spread was a hell of a lot closer than that. Our scores were in the ballpark, but Michigan pretty much did whatever they wanted, kept Washington down and did whatever they wanted on offense.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit when we were walking out of the press box, and I remember saying, like, I don't know. I still walk away from the game like not sure, like, if this Michigan team is for real or not, because I'm not sure what Washington is, right? We saw what they did in week 1 and we're not sure. So now is Washington just that bad to where, Michigan can just say, we're not even going to try to pass. We're just going to keep running until you prove you can stop it. So I want to see Cade McNamara. I said this last week. I want to see him in a situation where he has to move the ball down the field. And one of the things I know that, a lot of fans were upset about the lack of a passing game. And you and I were having the conversation as well. We kind of felt the same way, but they were clearly able to move the ball at will. Washington was not going to be able to stop them. And so for me, I wish there would have come a point in the game where, everybody got together and said, okay, we know they can't stop that. We feel good. We're in control of this thing. Let's see what we can do, through the air. Let's get Cade in some of those situations and see, what he's made of. Let's see if he can stretch the ball down the field, and let's kind of put some of that on his shoulders in a game where you've got a comfortable lead. But they kept hammering the rock, and like you said, it's really hard to be upset with that. And just like Blake said, if they can't stop it, why go away from it? But as a fan from the outside looking in, you can't help but say to yourself, okay, but what is that going to do against Penn State, Michigan State, and of course Ohio State the last week of the season?
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised. I think you asked it in a interesting way when we're sitting in the press box. You kind of leaned over, and you said, if I said that, Cade McNamara had thrown for 44 yards and only thrown it, I don't remember how many times it was at this point, 14 times or 12 or something like that, and Michigan wins by 21, or what would you think was happening? I'd be like, yeah, Michigan's probably getting blown out.
Yeah.
And instead they won by 21 points. It's crazy. I can't really remember feeling this way about a 21-point win. It's really, really peculiar. But I think you used the word, was it worried? You just said it. I mean, your Michigan fans are worried, or they were complaining about how it looked. And I was maybe a little guilty of that, but I can't help but feel some level of concern. It's not worry. It's not complaining. It's like, well, damn, dude, if the running game is ever not working for 8 yards a pop, do they even have the other aspect of the offense? Blake Corum says they do. I think you're going to get that answer from a lot of the players. They feel good about what they're doing. They see stuff work in practice, but there were times in that game, down inside the 5 or by the goal line where, it's 3 runs up the middle and a very, very vanilla basic play with 3 tight ends in the game. Like no creativity, no putting the defense in conflict, no getting your speed out there on the field to really press those guys in that short yardage situation. Then, there's 3rd and long or 3rd and manageable type of plays where they're not even thinking about letting Cade throw the ball. And I've always been really against like the not trying to lose, or their offense, the other team's offense isn't that good, so we're fine with giving them the ball back. No, man, forget that. Go stand on their neck and kill that other team. Go pick up that first down and keep the ball and put more points on the board. So again, it feels really strange to be like, I don't know. They won by 21. They're 2-0. Like that was a game I had circled as a potential loss before the season started, and it wasn't even close to a loss.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I find myself going back and forth on that. Obviously, you'll take it all day. I mean, you heard the linemen, you heard the running backs. They wouldn't have changed a thing about it. I'm not so sure the wide receivers are loving it as much, or like the wide receiver recruits in the stands. But that's you're coaching to win, and they won easy.
Yeah,
it's what it is.
And I do think there's a lot to what Blake said. He said, we don't have anybody sucking the energy out of this team. We're all getting up for each other. We all want to see each other succeed. And I feel like, in years past where maybe the culture and the camaraderie wasn't as strong as it was, you might have some issues with the wide receivers on a night like that where you just don't get them the ball. But I just think this group is built different. I think those wide receivers get out there. If they know that the rushing attack can't be stopped, then I think they flip that switch and they go downfield and they block and they get physical if they need to. I think that's sort of the makeup of this team. At least that's what I can gather from some of the stuff we heard in the offseason and some, watching some of the film early in the season. But, when it comes to the concern, you saw what happened with Ohio State and Oregon, right? Anthony Brown, quarterback for Oregon, had to throw the ball 35 times, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns. And they still had
they still ran the ball well. Yes.
I was going to say CJ Verdell went 20 carries for 161 yards. So they ran well, but Anthony Brown had to make plays. If you watch that game late in the game, he had to go out and make plays. And so, like I said last week, Ohio State looks vulnerable. They look a little more human this year. I still think they're the best team in the Big Ten, but Michigan just has such a great shot to do something this season that they haven't done under Jim Harbaugh yet. And the passing game is just that one thing that, like, everything else I feel good about. I feel great about the defense, what we've seen so far. I feel great about the running backs. I love what we've got in the wide receiver room. I just don't know what we have with Cade McNamara yet. And there were even a couple times where we saw him on the screen up in the press box, and you and I looked at each other, and it's hard to kind of read, you don't want to read too much into it, but on the sidelines, he had a look in his eye like he just didn't come off as confident. He looked maybe a little bit rattled, like, he could feel that the moment was big. I don't know. I just don't know what we have with Cade, and that makes me a little bit nervous.
Michigan, let's get real quiet here. Coach Harbaugh, do you have a comment? Michigan, your team ran for 345 yards on Saturday.
Definitely warms the cockles of the heart.
It warms the cockles. It warms the cockles. All right, I'm gonna go kind of quick through this because our burning questions is a fun segment that we have, and I think we get some good discussion out of there, and it takes a little time. But my 5 predictions, I'm just gonna say what it was. You kind of talk trash to me for getting it wrong and explain why I was wrong. Sound good?
Yeah.
First one, A.J. Henning will score another touchdown. He scored in week 1. I thought he looked fast and ready. Ronnie Bell goes down. I thought he might get a few more touches. Obviously, they barely threw the ball. What do you think?
I was on board with that one. We were in lockstep. Was really really surprised that we didn't see him in special teams returning punts. All week I was kind of
Mhm.
putting that out there that I thought we were going to see AJ Henning make a big splash on special teams. We didn't see it, and I think that that's something that's obviously going to be a topic of discussion. But I was right there with you. I expected him to have another big game, and it just didn't turn out that way.
I also predicted that Blake Corum would be the starting running back. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, but the way he's looked, I mean, why not come out of the gate with him? That's kind of where my thinking was. I mean, Hassan Haskins has been really good too, but maybe I was just a week early. I don't know. Thoughts on that one? Corum starting.
I don't think Corum will start. I don't think you'll see him. I mean, unless there's an injury or Haskins is banged up, I think that they've kind of figured out what their routine is going to be, and they're going to have Haskins kind of come out and, test the boundaries and sort of, look for the weaknesses. And then you send Corum out, sometime on the first drive, and hopefully he's able to take one to the house. But I think they've kind of settled in on what the rotation is going to be. And like Blake said when we had him on last time, Mike Hart is totally fine with riding the hot hand. And so far, Blake and Hassan have both been the hot hand. So hard to complain.
Yeah. Well, boy, this one I sucked balls. Said Cornelius Johnson would catch 5 passes. He caught 1.
Yeah.
Blake Corum led the team in catches, I think, with 3, something like that.
3 for 11 yards, I think.
It was another one of those situations where Ronnie Bell's out. I thought a receiver would step up. I thought Michigan would have to throw it more. I did not think they would be able to run the ball that well against Washington. They did. They barely threw it. I was way off.
Well, that's the other thing, right? We talk about Cade McNamara. We don't know what we have with him, but in the same situation, when you got to get down the field and you got to have a guy that's going to go up and get the ball, who is that going to be? It looks like it's Cornelius Johnson. I mean, he fits that mold. He's, from a physical standpoint, he's got everything you would want, but we just haven't seen that either. So,
yeah.
Obviously Michigan's going to handle their business against NIU. It would be really nice to just see an effort or an emphasis on the passing game, so that, I don't know, it's not like they're trying to put fans at ease out there, but I would think you want to know what you have in game, and you just don't know yet.
That's it. It's not about what the fans are saying or what the media is saying, but live reps is good for everybody. Give them live game reps against other teams that you don't know what they're doing, and you don't know their tendencies, and you don't know how a guy plays.
Why wait until Madison? That's where it's headed. Why wait until you're on the road in Madison, a place where in 20 years to figure out what you got?
You're not getting 8 yards a pop against the Badgers. So you're going to have to throw the ball. The next one was more of a, my affinity for Dax Hill and how good I think he is and all the different things he does, and coupled with the fact that Dylan Morris threw 3 interceptions against Montana. I said Dax would get a pick. He didn't. He had a pass breakup, but he didn't really get that close to picking one off. That's kind of a shot in the dark. We talked about this before. Sacks and turnovers are really, really hard to predict. It might be more wishful thinking at this point, because you and I both want to see Dax get his hands on one and turn into a return man. So I was off there. Dax did not pick one off.
Yeah, and I still feel the same way that I felt last week when we talked about this, that I feel like he's got all the potential in the world. I feel like he is everything we think he is, but we haven't seen it. So until he goes out and impacts, I didn't look at his stat line. So maybe, from a tackle standpoint, he was active and he was doing a lot of things out there. But man, just given the hype that surrounded his recruitment, I expected that we would see him, not only do more on the defensive side of the ball, but I figured they would try to implement, his athleticism maybe on the offensive side of the ball and special teams. I thought we would see, Daxton Hill kind of doing a little bit of everything, almost similar to what we saw with Jabril Peppers, where he's just a tremendous athlete. You use him however you can. And so far we haven't seen it.
He didn't have a great day against Washington. He had 3 tackles. He missed a tackle. He was targeted 6 times and gave up 4 receptions. So not his best. Again, asking people a lot of Are we back? Are we back? I can't hear you, Chris, if you are back. Good Lord. I don't know how that happened. My computer has, I think Chris is going to have to reboot now because of the thing falling apart. If people are out there still listening, I know there's not as many people in here now. I apologize for those technical difficulties, but my computer just decided to shut off right in mid-sentence. I sent this picture to Chris on a text message. Not ideal when you're in mid-sentence and your computer looks like that, the reboot screen. Chris Breiler, paging Chris Breiler. Are we back?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We gotcha. All right, so we still have some
Okay.
people hanging on. Again, I apologize for those technical difficulties. I don't know what happened. My computer was low, so I plugged it in when we started, and it is just